So were you here last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. So it's actually it's everybody in there. It's just shaded. Yeah. So I don't really need to do too much of a recap. I thought what I'd do today is just do another kind of rolling and printing recap. Sort of a recap with a little bit of an addition. So I can move some of this out of the way. Oh right, yeah. Do you want to come join us? So I'll do a quick recap then last week. What I did last week was a bit of designing, so sketching out. So that was one of the ideas, and this was sort of the start of this year's idea. And then I did a couple more, kind of working it out in my sketchbook ideas, just trying out different, thinking perhaps I could use different marks. So that was that. And then from that, I came up with that. That was me, and then of the different prints I've done of it, that was the first stage. And then I decided to cut a little bit more around here and just try and make it a bit more varied. And then I decided to have some marks coming out this way, and then I added a few more bits to the shells. So that's that one, that's an early one. And then that was printing it on a card, sort of greetings card, and then trying a couple of colours. So with this, what I did was I just kind of rolled out some green at the bottom and some red at the top, and then they kind of merged there. That one was a slight variation. Somebody was asking if you could kind of do hand colouring bits. So that was just putting a bit of yellow down first on the paper and then printing over the top. So that's another. So that's kind of where I got to with that. This was another idea that's in some of the books, which is to do something like a little kind of test tile, something like that, where you're really just trying out the different cutters and the different marks. And for me, some of the illustrations in the books had much finer lines and marks than I thought you could really get away with or manage. So this one was really just experimenting, seeing how close we could get. All the cutters I've got, I think that one seems to be the finest one I've got, the smallest. And I can get, I'll just do a little bit more here, I can get quite a nice fine mark. And you kind of need it deep enough to be able to sort of hold the ink. If it's too shallow, it will just fill out the ink. So you just have to be careful not to make it too shallow. It's quite nice to just see how fine I could get away with, really. So that was that. So that's that one. These ones are, that one's similar but a little bit bigger. I'm not sure. Yeah, that one is probably going to make a slightly deeper mark. It's not too much deeper though. So I can still get a reasonably fine mark with that one. I find these sort of ones that are almost like facing forwards like that are better for cutting these sort of plasticky linos. So I find that was quite a good shape. That's that one. And then these are good ones for sort of just scooping out the big areas. Right, so that's that. This is the other thing I wanted to, this is something that I've been experimenting with. So it's really almost like a framework in which to get the print nicely centered. So in the past, what I've done is I've had like a bigger bit of paper, and I've drawn sort of around where I want the linos to go, and then where I want the paper to go, and then just try and line it up, which works fairly well. But this I think works slightly better because it's almost got like little stops. So rolling the things up. So I thought just move this out of the way, just create some room. If you can organise it this way, it's quite difficult with the table setup, but if you've got a couple of tables nearby, you could have one area where you're sort of rolling up the inks and another area you're trying to keep it a bit clear. It's going to get. I was thinking a bit of rag would probably be best, but a damp bit of tissue might work. So I'm just trying, this is sort of really trying to get a good print so that it's not, yeah, just get a nice print out of it. So I'll go with this one, and I think I'll try blue and just mix a tiny bit of black in with it. Don't do too much now. Kind of bluey black. So obviously, if you want to mix the colours, you're very welcome to do that. And there's a couple of palette knives there. And I'll just try this one out again. So these rollers, the idea is you can do that. If you've got the thing all linked up and you want to put it down, some of them, not all of them, but most of them, you can just turn them over like that. And rolling the ink out, you want to keep it nice and, you don't want it too thick. These, unfortunately, these trays have got some blank spots. The other thing, I do have a couple of sheets of plastic somewhere that are quite good for if you haven't got your tray. Not sure what I've done those, they'll turn up in a minute. Try and get a nice even covering. Add a little bit more ink. Perhaps try 2 thin layers. And then this bit of newspaper, if I've got ink around here, just get rid of that for the next, when you do your next one, so you're not getting ink printed on the back of it. And that should be able to slip into there. And then if I've got any ink on my hands, it's a good time to just wipe it off before I start picking up the paper. I'm just going to use printer paper. This is very cheap printer paper, but anything, really something that's fairly smooth works well with these. You don't want anything like a textured watercolour paper. And then I find if I just go into one corner to start with, and then just drop that down, and use my hand to start with, and then once I've done that, I can put a little bit more pressure on, and go with a spoon. And then just check and see if it's how well it's printed. For any areas that are a little bit, it's not too bad actually. Yeah, I think that'll do. So hopefully it's sort of nicely aligned. And then if you've got that, you know, nice and square, that if you want to put it in the frame, you could go straight in the frame then. Or you could have a little bit there. But it's just getting a nice sort of print at the end of it. It's a little bit missing here. So perhaps I need to go a little bit harder there. Yeah, so that's just a bit on printing.
Okay.
Is that, yeah, any questions? So I think next week I'll just do a little bit on maybe colour. Try mixing colours and perhaps having, yeah, just a few different colour options. So one idea is perhaps using a bit of collage in the background, or you could do things like print a whole colour first and then print on the top of that, or multiple plates, cutting one plate and then printing something and cutting back. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next week, but I thought that'd be enough. So, is that enough so far? Yeah.
Can I just ask about letters? If you want to write anything,
Yes, that's a good question.
It comes out backwards.
It does, yeah. It does. I think the easiest way to do, well, sometimes you could do a design. Let's do it on a bit of this paper.
You can do it on tracing paper, then you can just just write it out nicely one way, can't you? And then flip it, and then at least you've got
Yeah.
something to look at to copy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, drawing on the plates themselves, I find the pencil's a bit softer. I think the big one there really. I'll do it on the back of here. So, yeah, if you wanted, say I wanted, just do it on here, so I've got, I can do design the same shape and size as this. If I wanted to say Merry Christmas, in theory, I should be able to get that to print, get that lined up, and then flip that over. I should be able to get that to transfer this way, see if it works. These are very dark grey bits of lino, so on the light ones, if some of the ones you've got some from the shops that are a bit lighter, it probably would come out better. You could use tracing paper, but also you could, hopefully this might work too. Just have to be careful it doesn't wiggle around too much though, because there's no ink to stop it shifting. Did that work? It doesn't look like it, does it? Great. No, I thought I managed to get that to work before. That's interesting. So maybe it's got to be a bit. Let's just do that bit then. That should come out there. Yeah, that's kind of just about come out. Can you see that? That bit there.
Yeah.
So you could, if
Pastel pencil better, do you think?
well, it would be. Oh yeah, it could do, couldn't you? Yeah, let's try that. So what? Do it on white, this thing, perhaps, or let's try that.
And then you can always go over it because it does tend to come on.
Yeah, yeah. Because the good thing about this is, you need it in reverse on here. So if you've got somewhere tracing it down, let's just do that there. I'm just trying to think of a nice, easy way of doing it, rather than write it on a piece of tracing paper. And then that's better, isn't it? Yeah, that would work. Yeah. So yeah, that actually works quite well, doesn't it?
So that's pastel.
That's a pastel pencil. Yeah. You could. I've got the pastel pencils out here. So again, maybe if you did it in something like a yellow, then you could see it on here and on here, and then you're literally just cutting it out from there. Then yeah, that should work. Yep. Yeah, like I say, if it's probably going to come off quite easy. So you could just trace, go over you with a fine liner. And I find that once these have dried, it seems to stay on. Fine liner pens. Then you've got something to follow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All good. Right. Great. So I'll leave these.
Nice. That blue, I think.
It looks quite nice, doesn't it?
I thought, oh, the black was really nice, but
Yeah.
actually just being the really dark, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So white has been dug out.
Yes, it has. Yeah. So yeah, I basically just cut away all that. As I say, I started with just the marks that way. I thought it just needed more contrast. It was all a bit samey. I wanted sort of light squares. It might be nice if this area was a bit lighter too. What I think I might try, the nice thing about this is just like a photocopy of paper, so you could try all sorts of colours. We'll try a few different ones, and then maybe try others. I think next week I'll try printing something in the background first, and then printing that on top. I think that might be quite interesting to try.
Sorry, I won't trust it with you, babe.
Oh, don't worry. No, that's fine.